Welcome, students. In this video, and family, parents, in this video, I'm gonna teach you something about sixth grade math. We're going to talk about sometimes in sixth grade, and even honor sixth grade math. The student has to learn the commutative, associative, and distributive properties with variables. So basically, this is an introduction to algebra, beginning algebra. So let's start with commutative property. So commutative property says that, let's say you have something that looks like this: x plus 2, where x is a variable. And what is a variable? A variable is a placeholder. So commutative property says that x plus 2 is the same thing as 2 plus x. That means that no matter the order, if you switch the order of two terms, it still give you the same value if you plug in anything here. But usually, right now at the beginning, you're not taught to place any value into x. So just if you say x plus 2 is the same thing as 2 plus x. So this tells you that, let's say if you have 5 plus x, it's gonna be the same thing as x plus 5. And the same thing if I say something like 3x plus 2x, it's gonna be the same thing as 2x plus 3x. And you can tell, and this one is a good example, because if you add, and then at this point you would know how to add like terms. So 3x and 2x are like terms. That means that they have the same variable. So for example, 3x plus 2x, that's 5x. And what is 2x plus 3x? 5x. That means that this checks out, because look, the left side and the right side is the same thing. That means that the commutative property works for this type of variable problems. So one more example: 2x plus 2. So if I want to write it, if I want to use the commutative property, how would you write it? Think about it. The way you would write it would be like this: if I start with 2x and I end with 2, I would start with 2 and then end with 2x. You just flip the order. And these two expressions are the same thing, just written differently. Now let's go into the associative property. So when you're talking about associative, the way it's presented is as follows. So for example, if you look something like this, if you're given something like this, in parentheses you have the sum 5x plus 3x, and outside you have plus 2x, you can write that with associative property that you can write it as follows. You can move the parentheses. So you would write something like this: 5x plus parentheses, then 3x plus 2x. That means that the order of the parentheses for this kind of sum of terms, it wouldn't matter. You can do these two first and then add this. So this is a way of demonstrating associative, or how to use associative. So let's do one more example of those. So if you have, for example, 2x plus 4x plus 2x, and then you have the parentheses here, and then you want to show associativity, how would you write it? You move the parentheses. It would be 2x plus 4x in parentheses, and then plus 2x. And these two quantities left and side are equal. That means that the associativity works, preserves the addition. And the last one, distributive property. This one is a little harder for students. Distributive property, but they can still learn it, and I believe any child can learn it. So you would do as follows. Let's say you have a whole number like 2, and then you're multiplying times x plus 2. How would you use distributive property? The way you use distributive property is that you multiply whatever is at the front times each term. And don't forget the operator in the middle, the one that is here, the summation. So 2 times x becomes 2x, and then 2 times 2 becomes 4. Let me give you another example. Let's say you have 5x plus 3. How would you do it? You do multiplication to each term. So 5 times x is 5x plus, don't forget the plus comes from here, and then 5 times 3 is 15. One more, and I'm gonna show you a different way you're gonna see this type of distributive. So you have 2x plus 1. Okay, so now 2 times x is equal to 2x, and then 2 times 1 is 2. What I like to show students to do is as follows, so they don't confuse themselves. So it's called like this: 5x plus, let's say, 3. I would tell them to write the whole thing, so don't skip steps. So I would do 5x plus, and this is where I tell them to write it, 5 times 3. So you write 5 times 3. And then what do? You simplify. So 5x stays 5x, and then plus 5 times 3, 15. Let me show you one more example so that way the student knows how to do it. 2 times x, 2x plus, and then do 2 times 7, 2 times 7. Simplification, 2x plus 2 times 7, 14. Another way you see these distributive properties, they switch the order inside the parentheses. So for example, you're going to have 2, and then you have 7 plus x. So kind of like commutative inside the parentheses. So, but the process is the same. 2 times 7, so you will write 2 times 7 plus, remember the plus comes from here, and then you do 2 times x is 2x. And then you simplify. 2 times 7, 14 plus 2x, and that's your answer. Okay, let's do one more. Okay, so 3 times 3 plus x. What do you do? 3 times 3, that's equal to 3 times 3 plus 3x. And then what do you do? 3 times 3, 9 plus 3x. And that's the way you show distributive property. I'll end up the video with one example where you combine these ones. Sometimes you might not see this when you're learning this, but you might. So I better show it to you. Let's say I want to do something like this: 2x plus 3 times x plus 2. I want you to, when they tell you simplify, how will you do it? You do it in order. Okay, remember parentheses always first. So okay, so you write 2x, you write this, and then the plus, and then you do distributive, because here you can distribute. Okay, so 3 times x, that would be 3x, and then 3 times 2, that would be 3 times 2, and then you simplify, go to the next step. 2x plus 3x, and then 3 times 2 plus 6. Last step, combine like terms. 2x plus 3x is 5x, and then plus 6. 6 doesn't have a variable, so you leave it by yourself. So now students and parents and friends and family, I show you how to use commutative, associative, and distributive property with variables. And of course, we're talking about whole numbers, integers, whole numbers. So you don't have to worry about other complicated stuff that later you learn in math. But so right now, just concentrate on the basics of these properties. So thank you very much, my friends and family, students. See you next time. Don't forget to subscribe.